Just watch your step on your way up.
Okay, go ahead.
When you do speak, I've asked you to speak right in front of the mic and not on the side.
Okay. Okay. All right. I am the mother of Daniel Ten Oever. On behalf of our family, I want to express our heartfelt gratitude to the many media centers which covered our son Daniel's story, bringing national and public attention to the crisis our family is currently facing with the Ottawa Catholic School Board and St. Jerome Catholic School in Ottawa, Ontario. Our family recognizes that had you, the media, not given the exposure you did to our 9-year-old son's story, neither the school board nor St. Jerome's Catholic School would be hearing our concerns. Because of you, we know we are not alone. And for that, our family says thank you. Our family also wishes to thank the many citizens who have reached out to offer good wishes and to the experts who have offered professional support. We are grateful for those who are standing with us in this room today. We know many are wondering how our son Daniel is doing. A month has passed since his last day in school. He is autistic, so being out of his routine has caused great stress for him. The traumatic event of being handcuffed has also had a lasting impact on him and our family as well. At this juncture, our son cannot return until both the school board and the school have given us full disclosure of all records pertaining to the care and control of our son. No discussions, no negotiations until we know exactly what happened to our son. Only then can we make an informed decision about what next steps little Daniel will be. We need to be sure no risk is posed to our son if he is to return to school. Our concern is not just for our son, but for all the other Daniels like him. We are a private family. At this time, we ask the media and others to please respect our privacy while we go about preparing to negotiate Daniel's return to study. For the time being, we will be speaking through Restoring Dignity and our legal counsel. Please direct all questions, requests, or comments to these parties. Thank you. I will now turn the podium over to Restoring Dignity's founder and CEO to say a few words.
We represent the family of Daniel Ten Oever. On behalf of Daniel Ten Oever's family, our role is providing advocacy support to the family. As you already have heard, we've requested full disclosure of records from the school and school board on behalf of Daniel Ten Oever's family. We were clear to the school and school board that there was no intention to involve lawyers or legal complaints. The school board responded by sending their lawyer. That lawyer threatened to personally sue me for allegations of defamatory comments. This is a terrible response and only serves to frustrate and prolong Daniel's safe return to school. We have identified and helped the family to retain legal counsel. I will be very clear. The family will have complete and full disclosure of any and all records pertaining to their son. In these cases, the use of policing services has to be examined. Hard questions must be asked without fear of reprisal, without the threat of stigma. In our view thus far, and it is unlikely that will change, we do not see the police at fault here. What is clear from numerous advocacy groups is that the school is supposed to have properly trained staff to de-escalate a crisis like the one young Daniel found himself in. The question remains, was it appropriate for the school to involve the police? We will be seeking public donations for legal funds for the Daniels family. We'll also be announcing more information at a later date. We are also aware of the story of a 14-year-old autistic boy who was being processed through the justice system. The Youth Criminal Justice Act was intended to deal with criminal behavior, not behavior caused by an impediment. The behavior from these children are not of their making or choosing. These stories, as horrific as they are symptoms of a larger problem. Canadians living with disabilities are facing a national crisis. This country needs a national strategy on disabilities. Without it, more incidences like these will continue and our country will regress further. We believe that the incident which happened to Daniel Ten Oever is not an isolated incident. Since the family of Daniel Ten Oever went public with their family stories, others have come forward, and we expect more will continue to come forward in the weeks ahead. For that reason, we are looking to speak with any families of special needs children, past and present, who have had similar experiences with the services under the auspices of schools or school boards throughout Ontario. You can reach us via email, investigations@restoringdignity.org. You can also call our tip line at 1-613-454-5996. I want to share a few words from an autism group that had shared online on the passing of Leonard Nimoy. These words represent an expression of hope from those living with disabilities such as autism and those who care and love for them. The character of Spock, who was literal and used logic in all things, helped our culture see the value of different neurologies. He was brilliantly played by Leonard Nimoy. I see a character like that equal to his peers, and I say to myself, it is possible. These words are the collective hopes of our founded democracy, of the hope which our founding fathers of Confederation wished to impart for all of us. Every individual has the right to be treated with dignity and respect. Historically, the disabled have faced systemic discrimination, eugenics, sterilization, and other human rights atrocities and death. From these, medical and moral models have encompassed further human rights violations against disabled persons. Canada has a very dark past when it comes to the treatment of children under the guise of institutions. The allegations set out in these cases echo those that have risen before. The continuing dark chapter of society's most vulnerable is a stain on our nation. It is not just a problem for those individuals or their families who love them. It is our collective problem, our collective responsibility. It is not the way humanity. It is not the way our intended democracy was meant to be. We can do better. We must do better. We will do better. Our Charter of Rights assures us of this. Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. It is possible. Can we stop this bleeding? The choice is up to us. Thank you.
Are you ruling out any lawsuits against the board? Can you clarify what you had said earlier in terms of legal action?
I think everybody gets really anxious about the idea when lawyers get involved. Lawyers getting involved in these cases doesn't always mean litigation. What we have to look at is what is in the best interest and welfare of the child here. That likely may lead to mediation. Again, we didn't instigate anything here. The school boards sought to send their own lawyer. We've tried to keep a very professional, non-adversarial tone, but unfortunately that has not been the approach of the school board here in this case. So right now, the answer to that is no. Would we rule that out entirely? I guess that would really depend on what we see in the records. I guess if we see what's in the records, we approach the school board and the school, ask them to address it. If they refuse to address it, then we'll have to look at what legal terms are at that time.
Just give me a better sense of when you say you want disclosure. What are you looking for precisely from the school?
We want full disclosure of everything. So that means anybody that's been involved with the boys' care in any regard. We want to look at the plans, not just universal plans, but the specific plans that were tailored. We're also going to be looking at the training of the individuals involved with the boy, the allocation of resources involved with the school board and the school, and how those funds are being allocated between different parties that are caring for the boy as well. So our investigation is not going to be just simply with the lawyers. We're looking at a broader investigation because we want to understand exactly what went wrong so that when we do return the boy, we know that he's safe and that there are no further concerns or risks.
What needs to be done for the little boy to go back to school? And in the meantime, is he being homeschooled? And is there the thought
Again,
of going
that's difficult to answer because we haven't seen the facts. The family have not seen the facts. So, we're not going to suggest to the family that they should go into a negotiation or meeting, uh, without knowing what's happened. So we can't assume what that direction will be. We do know this: um, he has suffered anxiety as a result of that incident, and aside from any other plans, we're also going to have to deal with that trauma and his transition back to school whenever that will happen.
So for now, he's being homeschooled, I guess?
For now, he's at home. We're looking to see what other kind of alternatives we can find for his care. But right now, the thing is that he's out of the routine he was already adjusted to. So no matter what we introduce to the boy, he's still going to be somewhat traumatized by that as well. So
Just so I'm clear in terms of what happened, when the family did ask for records and disclosure from the school board, they came back at the family with a lawyer threatening to sue. Is that what happened?
we requested the records on behalf of the family. The school board responded with a letter to me personally, threatening to sue me personally. And that's a terrible response. And that's really, in my determination, that's bullying. And that's not an appropriate response. And the lawyers get involved. They all get paid, at the end of the day. Um, and they bill by the hour. So the longer time they spend on something, the more money they get. But really, the question is, if we all really are interested in getting Daniel back to school, then let's stop all the petty nonsense and let's get down and do what's right. Disclose, give us full disclosure of the records. Let us see what's happened. Let the family look at what's happened, and let them sit down with their experts so they can understand exactly what's happened, what the next plan or next step forward needs to be. Then we can have a negotiation. Then we can have discussions. But right now, that's not going to happen until we have the full disclosure.
Has the family filed a formal complaint with police about the incident?
As I said, I don't think anybody here at this point sees the police being at fault. I think you have to look at it in this context. Um, if any of us call the police, they're required to respond. That's the law. That's their duty. Um, and our understanding is there isn't any real protocol for police officers. When we were talking earlier about this idea of a national strategy, people wonder, well, what exactly does that mean? We all hear about that. Well, part of that could we be looking at in a situation like this, if it was really a bad situation where police might have to be called in, something like a mobile crisis unit. In Nova Scotia, they have that. So it's a plainclothes police officer. It's another individual who may be working in mental health or in some regard of that nature that go in, and the design of that is for them to de-escalate the situation in a non-violent intervention way, not to use force. These kids don't understand force. It just doesn't work with them.
When you speak of a national strategy, and in the moments you spoke just a short time ago, you mentioned that you want to hear from other families. Are you proposing to start a group to push for a national strategy, or what do you mean by that?
We're looking to hear from other families because we want to investigate those individual cases as well and see what happened. We're looking for patterns. We are concerned because there's not just one incident. As I said, we don't feel this is an isolated incident. There are other instances that are happening across the province, and that's a concern for us. And just recently, the school boards across Ontario announced that they are cutting back on funding for special education at a time when we're hearing these kind of complaints. I think that's also a terrible response. Now, they're not required constitutionally, to fund a whole lot of things, but I think in retrospect, you have to do things within reason, and you have to also look at um, how that's going to reflect for our country and for these kids in the long term. So there's some sense of responsibility and accountability that has to be thought of in that regard too.
What do you expect I'll ask if no one else. What do you expect to find in the records? Do you suspect that there wasn't adequate care for?
It's really difficult, and I mean, that's like me buying a lottery ticket and thinking I'm going to win. I have no idea. We don't know what's going to happen when we look at these records. I mean, it could be any number of things. It's hard to point fingers at anybody until we really know what went on. Our organization works with institutional child abuse victims and survivors. So what we see, for example, when I was speaking about, these cutbacks, is at a time when these kinds of incidents are being raised and concerns are being raised by families,